Okay, so we'll get started. A big Awaken Hub welcome to everyone joining us today. Whether you're tuning in from your kitchen table, your co-working hub, or playing it low key in a corner at work, we see you and we're so glad you're here. Today it's all around celebrating our incredible county ambassadors, the women building connections, cheering others on, and championing women founders on the island from every corner. They're local legends that are helping us grow Awaken Hub's reach, voice, and impact. And we're here to shine a light on them and their amazing work as well. But that's not all. We're so delighted to be joined by two powerhouse speakers this evening who bring serious inspiration and insight. I'm delighted to welcome Claire Cronin, who's the former US Ambassador to Ireland, changemaker, connector, and proud supporter of women-led Irish startups.
We have like a place to live. Because I always not have my body if I don't have a place to live.
Right. Can I just ask you to mute a second, if you don't mind, if you're on mute or if you're on mic. So Claire's been a driving force behind cross-Atlantic connections, including during helping Awaken Hub whenever we are doing our trade missions and things like that. And also we're being joined this evening as well by Emer is a really good friend of Awaken Hub, and she's known the team for a long time. She's a senior Irish diplomat with the Department for Foreign Affairs, and she's a champion of collaboration, inclusivity, and the vital role diplomacy can play in supporting businesses, community, and global connection. So we want today to be a two-way conversation. So pop your questions, comments, or any shout-outs into the chat as we go along. Let's try to make it as lively and interactive as possible. And while you're at it, as always, please connect with us on socials. You know, we're on X, we're on Instagram, we're on LinkedIn, and you know the drill. We're kind of everywhere but the kitchen sink. So if you hear something today that resonates, please do share it, tag it, and try to keep the momentum going. Let's try to build the community that we want to help support women across the island. And lastly, if you spot someone on this call from your county or close by, reach out and arrange a coffee or a walk, a meetup, a stroll. It's all about peer support here, and nothing beats connecting in real life over a flat white or a big idea. So let's get going and meet the woman making the magic happen locally and globally. So first of all, I'd really like to welcome Claire Cronin, and I'm delighted that Claire's joining us from Boston this evening. We're delighted that she's given up her time to share with us. So Claire, if you just come on screen. I see you. See you.
Hey, how are you?
Great.
Delighted to be with you again, Claire. It's always good to see a familiar and friendly face.
I know, just the last few times we've seen each other, it's been stateside in the US, so glad to see you online this evening. So in terms then, just to kick things off, because we've got a lot to get through and you've got so much experience and so many insights that we want to get as much out of the conversation as possible. So kind of to start at the beginning, Claire, can you share a bit about your career journey and how it's ultimately led you to become the US Ambassador to Ireland?
Yeah, sure. I had quite a path, I would say. So by way of background, I am a lawyer. I grew up in a family that believed in the importance of public service. My dad was a World War II survivor, a Pearl Harbor survivor. And my mother's brother was the mayor of the city that I grew up in. So from a very early age, it was more or less instilled in me the importance of trying to give back to your community. So I went to college, I studied political science, I went on to law school, spent a good portion of my life working on other people's campaigns because it was important to me to support my local officials. And then in 2012, at the age of 52, which is old to get into politics, my local state representative was retiring, and I threw my hat in the ring. I'm a Democrat. I had a four-way Democratic primary, and then I had to face a Republican after I won the primary, and I was elected 2012. So I served my time in the legislature up until the time that President Biden nominated me to be his US ambassador to Ireland. So there was a lot of politics involved before I got to that point, but you know, a very unexpected thing. I never aspired in any way to be ambassador. As a matter of fact, I loved the job I had. I was the first woman to serve as majority leader in the House Before that, I've been the first woman to chair the Judiciary Committee. So I had a few firsts. Not the first woman ambassador to Ireland. That was Margaret Heckler and then Jean Kennedy Smith. So I was number 3. But I will proudly say that all 3 women that served as U.S. ambassador hailed from my state of Massachusetts. So
Oh, wow, right. So you've quite
there
a
is
few,
a commonality there.
and such a privilege as well to serve your country and in the great place that is Ireland.
Oh.
And you did great work here, and we know that as part of Awaken Hub and Awaken Angels. One early achievement that stands out is the bill that you filed in Massachusetts that became law. Particularly notable because it focused on angel investing tax credits.
Oh, yeah.
So what inspired that and what impact has that had?
Yeah, sure. So 2 things inspired it. One is my husband was very involved in the startup world. He did 11 startups. So the startup ecosystem was something that I was familiar with. Then my daughter went on to work for Mass Challenge, which is a startup incubator in Boston. So, you know, the startup talk was always in our house and very exciting. So at one point, I realized that although some states did have an angel investor tax credit, Massachusetts did not. And I thought that, you know, we all know that an angel investment is one of the more riskier investments you can. Potential for great reward, but more often than not, you know, you may not succeed. Unfortunately, the rate is. So it struck me that it would be really important to provide incentives for people to, if they were making choices what to do with their money, that there might be some credit involved. There was also a political motive to it. In my Republican race, I was running against an accountant who liked to say he knew more about business than I did. So I said, I'm going right into his world. I'm coming up with a tax credit. It's like, if you want to say you're an accountant, I'm filing a bill about a tax credit. So I went on, and it is law in Massachusetts today. So it was one of the very first bills I filed. So hopefully it will spur some people to invest in our startups.
Fantastic, and hopefully too it will help with any Awaken Angels, particularly from our diaspora that are based in Massachusetts.
Sure,
Also
absolutely.
And then, so what really inspired your move into diplomacy? You know, how did your previous experiences prepare you for the role of ambassador?
Wow, that's probably a lot of things. For 20 years, I served as a mediator in civil disputes as part of my law practice. So the idea when I ran for office, I used my mediating experience as part of my campaign platform, you know, that I wanted to bring people together, solve problems, you know, figure out a way to get things done. You know, I always say you don't want to talk at people, you want to speak with people, hear where they're coming from and find solutions. So I use that as part of my campaign, as part of my pitch, I guess, to the voters. And I think I practiced those mediation skills when I served in the State House. I think I always tried to see where the other person was coming from, to understand, you know, generally in life, we agree with more than we disagree. And I always thought, you know, you really have to understand what the other people are thinking, you know, what's important to them in order to solve problems. So I brought that. Certainly my legislative and political experience helped. I have to say, when I came to Ireland, I had such a warm welcome from all of the members of the Irish government. And I said, what is nice for me is I didn't have to pick a team. You know, I could be friends with, you know, elected officials in all parties. And I used to say, I felt so at home in Leinster House. And they used to joke that I was going to come back and run for office myself. But I think that gave me probably credibility at the get-go with the governmental leaders, because I think they considered me almost as one of their own in many ways. So I think that helped.
And that leads me on as well, because during your time in Ireland, you launched the Open Door program. So what was the vision behind that, and how did it play out on the ground?
Yeah, sure. So let's start off with the fact that I grew up in a community that today, not when I was growing up, but today, 87% of the children in that community live below the federal poverty level. When I became ambassador, what struck me is I was thinking how nice the Deerfield residence was. And I figured that if I had been a young 17-year-old walking by, I would have wondered, who lives there? What does it look like inside? What do they do? And so I wanted to open the doors of the residence to audiences that typically had not had the experience of visiting the ambassador's house. So I said, I thought, who visited there? People high level in government and CEOs and wealthy people and celebrities. And I said, I wanted to open the doors to the average person on the street, whether it be members of the fire brigade or teachers or students. And with regard to the students, I focused on two things initially, but then it spread. First of all, I wanted to focus on the DESH schools because I believe that, some of the students in lower income communities really need to see what they could be. And I wanted to open the doors to them. As I said, I came from Brockton, Massachusetts. A lot of people would say, this isn't where they expect an ambassador to grow up from. I'm proud of my roots. I love my roots. Life has been good to me. And I just wanted to share that with students that couldn't. Over time, I had other schools. But then it actually got a little fun. I would get a letter from a men's shed group and they'd say, hey, can we come on the open doors? So over the course of my time there, every week I had 75 to 100 students come to the residence on a Wednesday or Thursday morning. I would let them tour the house and then we'd have a town hall and give them a snack. And then I'd pitch the J1 visa, which I can say at the end of my time, we had record numbers of J1 visas. And I used that opportunity to, share the literature with them. But overall, diplomacy starts at the very grassroots levels. And no matter where I went in Ireland, I could be out west, I could be in Galway, I could be up in the Inishowen Peninsula where my granddad was from. And people would say, oh, my nephew was at the residence and my niece was there. And so it was a good, sort of public diplomacy tool that I think I was very proud of that program and I miss it. And I think I would say over the course of 3 years, we had over 5,000 students came through. And I still get emails from them, although I used to give them my email and say, shoot me an email if I can help you. So did a little mentoring there as well. And there is another significant statistic that also made me do this. When I first came to Ireland, I realized that 1 out of 4 6-year-olds in Ireland have a parent from a different country. So Ireland is becoming far more diverse. So if you were to go back, in the United States, 30 million Americans claim Irish ancestry. But slowly, with the embrace of diversity, which is a positive to decision makings and businesses, there is a dilution of the generational pull that we all Americans feel for their native homeland. And so over time, I said, I have to let these young people develop their own relation with the US, which is not based on their ancestry. So we'll see.
And two of the unlikelies, like one of the fond memories that I have, Mary McKenna and I, along with Mary Ann Pierce, one of our US Global Ambassador for Awaken Hub and Awaken Angels, you invited us to your residence and we were able to hear a really raw conversation between yourself and Mary McAleese, the former President of Ireland.
Oh, that was such a great night.
Great night, yeah.
She's great fun. She's smart and fun.
Yeah. And so from your perspective, what makes US-Ireland relations so unique and important, Claire, especially in today's global landscape?
Well, I would say that the relationship has always been there. I've said it 1,000 times, but Ireland is the only country that has a standing meeting with the US president every year, and that happens during St. Patrick's Week. but other countries would kill for that meeting. So, you know, as I said before, over 30 million Americans claim Irish ancestry. But it's more than that. I mean, I think, you know, I used to always say when I was speaking that, you know, Ireland was with us from the start. When we had our Revolutionary War, there were many, many Irish people who had emigrated to the United States that supported our revolution at the time. And so the historical nature is there. Fast forward now, we have a million reasons why American companies want to set up shop in Ireland. You know, I always talk about the strengths. You have certainty in your court system, very highly educated workforce, English speaking, only English speaking language in the EU today. Ireland geographically is the gateway to Europe and beyond, in the same way that coming from Dublin, it's easy to go to the US as well. So there are a lot of reasons why the relationship should be good based on, you know, begins with our ancestry. I used to always say, you know, our ancestry was the foundation, but our trade and investment is the glue that keeps us together.
Hopefully it'll stay that way.
Yeah,
In terms
hopefully.
of community engagement seems to be the core value in your work, Claire. Why do you think that's so important for ambassadors, and what approaches have worked best in connecting with local communities and building?
I'm so sorry. I missed the beginning of your
Oh,
question.
sorry. Saying community
200 people outside here. It's very loud.
It was around community, you know, being kind of a core value, community engagement being a core value to your work. You know, why is it so important for ambassadors around building trust, and what approaches that have worked best in connecting with communities for you?
Well, the word trust is very pivotal. In Massachusetts politics, there is a principle that, you know, is very much ingrained in all of us here, or it should be. I know it's something that I always believe very strongly in, and it was that your word is your bond. So people may disagree with you, but if they trust that you are open to listen to them, to respond, you know, as I say, your word is your bond. If I give someone my word, that is my word. So that's really important. And I thought the best way to do it, you know, was the public engagement. You know, when I first came to Ireland, I said, you know, I don't want to be just the US ambassador to Dublin. I want to be the US ambassador to the whole country. So very early on, I made I was on Ryan Tuberty's show in the morning show, and I challenged myself to visit all 26 counties and the North. And in my first 6 months, I visited all 26 counties, and then I just kept cycling back. So I think I was in every county probably multiple times. But that's where it begins. You know, the US is a big country, and for some people, they've never been. I have one student from Ireland was just studying here at the University of Vermont, and I had a chance to see him while he was here. And when he was leaving for the US, I met him in Dublin before he headed over. And it was good for him to have a familiar face or someone to talk to. We have a young Irish lad who's going to be a kicker on the Boston College football team. His name is Andy Quinn. And I've reached out to him because I said, hey, you got to have a mom over here. So I said, if you need anything, you know, please call me.
That's good, and we appreciate that as well, because in Awaken Hub, that's why we kind of say it's important to go to people at their local level rather than hosting events and kind of always in the central locations, which is why we have the county ambassadors who are on here today, and why we try to go out into kind of rural areas and do meetups and things like that, because when you meet people in their own local communities, you get better engagement. It's kind of bringing us around. I could talk to you all day, but just kind of one final question. You've recently transitioned in your career into government and business relations. What's next for you in terms of, you know, how do you see this new chapter shaping your future and the impact?
Yeah, I'm very excited about this. So I have just joined a public policy firm in Boston. It's called Smith, Costello and Crawford. Oh, Jess, my colleague said she'll put the link onto the chat. And I'll put my email as well in the event that anyone wants to reach out to me. I always love to hear from my Irish friends. So I will be engaging in public policy here in Massachusetts. I spent a good deal of time and effort on the Select USA program. When I was in Ireland, every year I brought 40 companies, Irish companies, over to the US, many women-led businesses. We have a great example, Shola Oncology. I don't know if you know Sharon or Orla, who are here in Cambridge, Mass. I went over and I had lunch with Sharon the other day. But I want to focus on advancing women and women in business, whether it be US companies that want to expand their global footprint into Ireland, or if it's the other way around. So I'm doing that. And I am also going to be a visiting scholar at our local college system here, which will allow me to continue to engage with young people, which I had not really previously done that. You know, I come from a family of teachers, and I always said I didn't have enough patience to be a teacher, as my mother and sister and brother did. But then I found during my Open Doors program that I really, you know, that wasn't work. It was fun for me and I loved it. So I'm going to try to do that as well. So it's exciting, but I miss Ireland. I'm very envious of all of you sitting over there today. I wish I were with you in person.
We will definitely invite you over for an in-person event. We'd be delighted to have you, Claire, as one of our Awaken Hub big sisters. But we'll have a follow-up with that afterwards. I know we could chat all day. Thank you so much for your time. It was really great seeing you online and also hearing the background story. And I hope that that kind of sets the scene now as we move in to our breakout sessions with the community. So Claire, we won't keep you much longer because we know your time is precious. We just want to thank you again for taking the time to share with us this evening. And again, we will reach out and share your details with the Awaken Hub community. Should they want any advice and guidance on the US or to talk to you about anything else. So that's